Penduduk kampung hampalan singgah mata Pulau Bumbung Sempurna menerima bantuan pemeriksaan kesihatan secara percuma. Seterusnya, Kerajaan Sarawak menyasarkan ekspor pertama gas hidrogen pada tahun 2027.
Sabah Electricity Sdn Bhd SESB mempertukar lebih RM500,000 untuk melaksanakan projek bantuan mesra rakyat BMR.
Siapa Azura?
Perkara silam kembali menghantui.
Aku nak kau buat perempuan tu ingat balik semua benda yang Zarif dah buat kat dia tu.
Apa yang kau nak tengok? Aku derita, aku susah hati, aku tak bahagia.
Yes. Betul ke dulu Dian betul-betul bahagia hidup dengan dia? Datin tu suruh Dian buat kerja teruk dulu. Masa tu Dian syarat mengandung juga.
Adakah takdir ini penentu segalanya?
Zarif. Bila kau nak berlakon ni?
Takdir itu milik aku di Astro dan Astro Girl.
Kerjasama lebih erat untuk bagaimana memperkuat ASEAN. ASEAN sekarang kan di crossroad, jadi Indonesia dan Malaysia bisa menjadi pilar untuk memperkuat kesatuan dari ASEAN.
So we see a tremendous future for hydrogen to be a part of the decarbonization of the planet. At this point of time, Malaysia and India, and where we have been sort of focusing on developing projects.
Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Malaysia placed 107th in the World Press Freedom Index, down 34 places from 73rd last year. According to the latest report released by Reporters Without Borders, Malaysia's score now stands at 52.07 points. The latest ranking puts Malaysia behind Thailand, which is currently ranked 87th. However, it is still second overall among ASEAN countries, ahead of Indonesia's in 111th place, followed by Brunei, Singapore, the Philippines, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar and Vietnam. The index compares the level of media freedom in 180 countries and regions around the world. Points are calculated on the basis of 5 indicators: political, economic, legislative, social and security. Reporters Without Borders noted that news sites critical of the government were often blocked in Malaysia. The country scored 62.83 points in 2023, jumping 40 places to 73rd. It was previously in 113th place in 2022, with a score of 51.55 points. Perak Mufti Datuk Seri Wan Zahidi Wante says that Muslims in the country should refrain from boycotting establishments such as KK Supermart because the act departs from the concept of Islamic jurisprudence. Therefore, based on this concept, he said that the accusations against KK Supermart that they have insulted Islam are unproven, as there is no criminal intent.
Elemen ini tidak boleh dibuktikan melalui syahadah atau direct evidence. Ia hanya boleh dibuktikan dengan pengakuan atau melalui kaedah pembuktian qara'inul ahwal, circumstantial evidence. Daripada penjelasan yang dibuat oleh pihak pengurusan KK Mat dan permohonan maaf secara terbuka terhadap insiden yang berlaku serta penjelasan yang dibawa kepada JAKIM, ternyata kewujudan rukun Al-Qasdul Jinai ini tidak dapat dibuktikan.
KK Supermart was embroiled in controversy when images of socks sold at one of its chain outlets with the word Allah circulated on social media. Despite public apology being issued and founder Datuk Seri Dr. Chai Kee Kan and his wife being charged in court over the issue, public backlash remained. Since the incident, 3 of the store's branches came under firebombed attacks, believed to have been linked to the controversy. Meanwhile, a total of 10,106 commercial crime cases involving losses of more than 866 million ringgit were recorded from January to April 28 this year. Bukit Aman Commercial Crime Investigation Department CCID Director Datuk Sri Ramli Muhammad Yusof said this is equivalent to an average of 85 cases a day. According to Ramli, though the percentage of cases for this year recorded a decrease of 8.2%, the value of the loss recorded an increase of over 62%. Meanwhile, a total of 4,880 investigation papers were charged in court during the same period. This is higher compared to 4,598 cases for the same period last year. Separately, Ramli said many are still unaware about the Semak Mule portal developed by CCID to enable the public to check the bank account numbers of individuals and companies that have been reported to be involved in fraudulent activities. He said the portal has listed a total of 198,125 bank accounts owned by individuals and 315 bank accounts owned by companies. And of the total, over 97,000 arrests have been made, with some charged in court. The public has been told not to worry as the Health Ministry is closely monitoring the hot weather situation. Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad said the ministry will also make an announcement regarding school closures if there is a need to do so. Zul said existing SOPs in relation to hot weather, including reducing outdoor activities in schools, still remains, with school being instructed to not allow students to go for outdoor activities if temperature is at 35 degrees Celsius for 3 consecutive days. His comments came after Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability Minister Nik Nazmi Nik Ahmad said that hot weather following the El Niño phenomenon in the country is expected to continue until July. According to him, forecasts indicate this year could be the country's hottest year, with states like Kelantan, Perlis and Kedah experiencing higher temperatures than Selangor and Kuala Lumpur. Lifting productivity across business entities and government agencies are key indicators towards improving a nation's competitiveness. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella shares more about the company's agenda and vision behind its 10.5 billion ringgit investment announced yesterday.
What is it doing? You know, we have to sort of, even for me, it's not just about the technology, it's the impact. That's why whenever I'm here in Malaysia, I'm really looking for that real hard evidence. The real hard evidence that it's helping small businesses become productive, or large multinationals right here in the region will become more competitive, right? The public sector become more efficient, the education outcomes, the health outcomes getting better.
With the aim of building cloud and AI infrastructure in Malaysia and establishing a national AI Centre of Excellence, Satya said there was full collaboration with the government to drive inclusive economic growth and innovation across the country.
The conversation I had with the Prime Minister was really inspiring. He was very well, he definitely was very focused on making sure that this new technology was available and, more importantly, was being used to benefit the broader Malaysian society. And he was very focused on it, and it was good to hear him really be supportive.
Catch the full conversation with Satya on Agenda AWANI, available on all Astro AWANI platforms. We'll go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
Perubahan iklim, ancaman kepada semua. Pencemaran meracuni planet kita.
How is it affecting our...
Merobek khazanah alam, membahayakan kita.
We can avert the worst effects of climate change.
Kita mampu mengubahnya. Selamatkan bumi, selamatkan nyawa. Penanaman demi masa depan untuk semua. Rimba kita, selamatkan bumi kita. Stream bila-bila masa, di mana jua. Semuanya di satu tempat.
Welcome back. All Palestinian journalists covering Israel's war on Gaza have been awarded UNESCO's World Press Freedom Prize. The United Nations Cultural Agency says the prize paid tribute to the courage of journalists facing difficult and dangerous circumstances. Israel's war on Gaza is becoming the deadliest conflict for journalists and media workers. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, at least 97 members of the press have been killed since the war broke out in October, 92 of whom were Palestinians. Gaza's government media office put that toll at more than 140. Mauricio Weibel, chair of the International Jury of Media Professionals, says the agency wished to share a strong message of solidarity and recognition to Palestinian journalists who are covering the crisis. Every year on May 3rd, UNESCO commemorates World Press Freedom Day. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres warned that the media is under attack in every corner of the world and urged all nations to stop the targeting of truth and those who report it. Turkiye has suspended all trade with Israel over its offensive in Gaza. Its trade ministry says the measures will remain in place until Israel allows an uninterrupted and sufficient flow of aid into Gaza to address the humanitarian crisis there.
The trade suspension covers all products. In response to the move, Israel accused Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of being a dictator. Foreign Minister Israel Katz said Erdogan was ignoring international trade agreements and disregarding the interests of his people. He added that Israel would work to find alternatives for trade with Turkey, focusing on local production or imports from other countries. Trade between the two countries was worth nearly $7 billion in 2023. Turkey had been the first Muslim-majority country to recognize Israel in 1949, although relations have soured in recent decades.
Meanwhile, hundreds of protesters have set up camp at universities across Australia, inspired by the student movement that has swept US campuses in recent weeks. The pro-Palestinian activists are protesting Israel's offensive in Gaza and calling for universities to divest from companies with ties to Israel, much like students in the US, Canada, and France have done. At the University of Sydney, students are also demanding that universities sever all academic ties with Israel and end research partnerships with weapons manufacturers.
So we are planning to stay here as long as possible. We want to make our demands clear. We want a response to them from the university, and we're prepared to stick it out until we get that response.
What we do as students matters. It matters that there is a student movement being built all around the world, made up of millions of people who are refusing to be complicit in this genocide, with our government's total support for the genocide that is being carried out by the State of Israel.
Several hundred meters away, separated by rows of security guards, hundreds gathered under Israeli flags in a counter-protest. So far, the violent scenes that have erupted at universities across the US involving protesters, counter-protesters and law enforcement have not been repeated in Australia. Over the past 10 days, pro-Palestinian protest camps have sprung up on campuses across Australia, from Melbourne and Sydney in the country's southeast to Adelaide in the centre and Perth on the west coast. In other news, Myanmar's junta will no longer allow men to apply for work abroad if they are eligible for conscription. In a statement, it says this was necessary to verify departure processes without providing further details.
However, the new measure, which came into effect on Wednesday, does not apply to those who have already been granted permission to leave the country. In February, the junta announced it would enforce a law allowing it to call up young men and women into the military for at least 2 years. The move had sent thousands queuing for visas outside foreign embassies in Yangon, while others crossed into neighbouring Thailand to escape the law. Some 13 million people are eligible for conscription, but the military can only train 50,000 a year. According to pro-military Telegram accounts, a first batch of several thousand recruits had already begun training under the new law.
An orangutan in Indonesia has been observed self-medicating by using a paste made from plants to heal a wound on its cheek. It marks the first time an animal has been recorded in the wild treating an injury with a medicinal plant. Researchers first spotted the orangutan named Rakus with a large wound on his cheek in June 2022, after fighting with rival male orangutans. The team saw Rakus picking and chewing leaves of a medicinal plant called Aka Kuning, known for its anti-inflammatory properties and used locally to treat malaria and diabetes. The adult male repeatedly applied the paste to his cheek before pressing the chewed plant onto his wound like a bandage. Researchers found that Rakus's wound was completely healed after a month. They said they would now be watching other orangutans closely to see if they could detect the same medical skills Rakus had shown. Before this discovery, great apes had only been documented eating medicinal plants to try to heal themselves. That wraps our AWANI Tonight. I'm Farhanah Sheikh. Thank you for watching.